Now, what does a sniper, a cameraman, and a magician, and a keynote speaker have in common? On paper, nothing. But if you look beyond the bonnet and you lift it and you find the commonalities and are able to create a compelling story for a decision maker, then you're not only creating an economy of one, but you are a trusted authority. And this is exactly what today's guest has done and is continuing to do so. Julian Mather is joining us today. Thank you so much, Julian, for being here.
I'm really happy to be here. I just love helping unlocking people's potential. So if I can do that today, it's a day well spent.
And I cannot wait because you are honestly one of those people who live by example. And if I had to sum you up in one word, it would be change maker. Although it's kind of two words, but I'll put it into one word. You have reinvented yourself multiple times, not just from traditional careers, but you have the most extraordinary career. Can you give us a bit of a thumbnail how you got to where you're now?
Look, the very short story is that I did really well at school if you don't count learning. So
One of those.
I, I essentially became a chronic truant at school, but what I did was I took myself to the State Library and I read every book on photography, every book on photojournalism, because I knew that's what I wanted to be. And, you know, the stories are often written between the lines. And what I realised that if I wanted to be a photojournalist, it was not going to happen in my home city of Brisbane, because I never saw a picture of Brisbane in any of these photojournalist books. So I thought the world, you know, I have to get out into the world. How am I going to do this? I had no idea. I saw an army recruiting poster on a bus shelter. It had soldiers walking through the forest, but it was a pine forest. And I knew in Australia we had eucalypt trees, not pine trees. And I thought, that's my path. So I joined the army, and that's when the yelling started. And it didn't stop for a couple of years because I said, look, I joined to be a photographer. And they said, oh, they didn't tell you that, did they? And they put me in the infantry. I was not happy there. So I looked for a path where I had more self-determination. I found out that being an army sniper gave me that. So I had no particular skills in that, but I applied myself. It was very difficult. I got to become an army sniper. It was not the view of the life that I had planned through this narrow lens. I wanted a wider view. I ended up leaving that and I got a job with ABC TV, and I was there as a documentary cameraman for about 25 years. And it was literally the second best job in the world. They'd put a plane ticket in one hand, money in the other, kick me out the door and say, go tell people stories. It was a great gig. Went to great places, but it was the people in front of the camera who influenced my thinking. And I saw these people in the front of the camera effecting change in the world. And I had these ideas and I had to work out how could I do what they're doing. So essentially what I had to do was walk away from being behind the camera, because I couldn't be behind the camera and in front of the camera at the same time. So I took a program into schools to teach philanthropy to school children. It was a stunning failure. And my TV career sailed off into the distance. I was left with no money and I had to reinvent myself. Well, as a cameraman, I always carried a bit of magic in my camera vest because it was a great way to build rapport with people. Because get this, apparently people don't trust the media. I
Stop
know.
it.
So it was a great way just to build trust, you know, get people laughing. So I took those basic skills I had and applied myself to that and became a professional magician for 5 years. And that's how I earned my money. It was what I put on my tax return. But again, it wasn't what I wanted to do. I ended up doing some magician in residence programs in schools, and I would teach the kids these simple little tricks, but I would embed values lessons in them. Too much for the kids to take in. So I put some videos on YouTube so they could go back in their own time and review them. Strange thing happened. They became popular. I ended up with a successful YouTube channel. It's still there. It's got 30 million views and about 140,000 subscribers. But I started to look into the metrics in that, and I got a big surprise. It wasn't just kids watching me. There was a spike of males 35 to 55 years old all around the world. So I reached out to them and said, who are you? What are you doing watching me? And they said, oh, we've harbored this desire all our lives to be a professional children's entertainer. We know the tricks, but we don't know how to present them. And you show the glue of how to put tricks together and make a show. So I said, look, if I build a program called Build Your Magic Show, would you buy it? And they said yes. And that was the start of me creating the world's first online training academy for professional children's entertainers. I built that up as a business. I sold it about 4 years ago. And now what I do is that transformational skills that I've learned, that mindset that I've learned that takes people from being stuck to being unstuck over here. I've stuck showing up on video on top of that. And that's what I do now. I work with business leaders to help them show up on video and become trusted authorities at a time where it's crucial that you do this, because no one can afford to be video illiterate anymore. We're just into a whole new world. And it's not who you say you are, it's who Google says you are. So you have to create this body of work. It doesn't matter who you are. Anytime anyone is interested, if you're a leader and you end up moving, to a different position, a different role, a different change in life, anything, the first thing people are going to do is they're going to go on Google and ask, who is this person? And you need this body of work, and video is simply part of that body of work. I'll take a breath.
Excellent. And we've got so much to unpack here, because the main principle behind becoming the trusted authority is how can you connect two worlds that are relevant to you because of your background, but also relevant to your decision maker, whoever that might be, and create an economy of one, that you are the trusted go-to in that field. And you've done exactly that. And not only that, you've done it with the most unconventional careers and professions. Like, who says, you know what, I'm a magician, like 1 in a million. And this is exactly in the end what business is all about. How can you make magic happen for somebody else? And now you use also the skills that you've acquired whilst you were a cameraman and actually teach that to others. So, I find it fascinating how you've created not only your current career, but you've consistently reinvented yourself. So there is no excuse for anyone who's been in a professional industry for 10, 20, 30 years and they say, I don't have any transferable skills, or I can't do anything but what I'm doing right now, because you are the living proof of that.
Yeah, and what's important for people to understand, because they keep, because I mean, one of the problems when people listen to my story is because it's so varied, and it's got a little bit of interest around it because all these different things, is they go, well, that's not me. I just work in like a normal job. I've got nothing particularly special or interesting. You're making a big mistake if you think that. It is completely changed out there now. There's no gatekeepers. You don't have to ask anyone's permission to turn up and want to help them. And you don't need to be a guru either. You don't need to be the specialist. All you need to do is be 2 steps ahead of the people you're trying to help, because there's a real role for that. Because so many people get, hung up that, oh yes, I have to be the absolute leader out there, the guru. But quite often those people are so far removed from what it's like to be at the ground level. At the bottom with the beginner mindset. But if you're 2 steps ahead of that, people really want to hear from you because you have empathy. You still understand what it's like to be there because you've just elevated yourself out of that. And you're also very current. You know exactly what the current thinking is, where the current tools are, who are the people that you need to speak to. You have so much potential to help other people and affect change just by being at the start of your journey. Because now you can just turn up. You can turn up on video, you can turn up on any social platform, and you just start speaking your truth. And you'll find that people will want to listen to you. Not everyone, because you're not everyone's flavor of ice cream, right? So, we all like different flavors. What you can't do is you can't turn up and just be vanilla. And this is a problem for people in corporate, lives, because, it is about, with your messaging, it's about, being on message, and it's almost like homogenizing, pasteurizing your message, take all the nasty bits out. That doesn't work if you're going out and speaking your truth, because people want to know what you think, what you feel, what you believe. And you have to do that by being authentic on video. And being authentic confuses a lot of people. They think, what does that mean? Does that mean that if I'm angry or down that day, I turn up that day angry and feeling down? No, it doesn't. All it means, if somebody met you in a coffee shop, they would go, oh, you are exactly like you are on video. That's all being authentic on video is. I'm authentic. If you meet me, this is how I talk. This is how I do it. But I'm also professional. I don't bring my problems and hand them over to you. I mean, and I turn up and I try to have my message articulated because I've put some work into that. That's being authentic as well. It just means you bring your regular self onto video.
Oh, absolutely agree. And, I always call it be intentional and intentional with your values that you want to be known for. Because when I'm hungry and I'm tired, then I'm hangry. But when I've got an interview planned or a keynote, nobody cares how I feel in that moment. And I could be authentic, but that doesn't help me in any way or shape, or the other person. And this comes down to, how do you want to show up? And then being very intentional to do that. And I can attest to that, because we met a few weeks ago for a coffee, and you are exactly that. Very outgoing, you're interactive, you're engaging, and especially nowadays, and COVID obviously has fast-tracked and fast-forwarded, is that we live in a digital-first world. So we want to replicate our offline persona as much and as authentic as we possibly can online, that when we meet actually in person or in a meeting or in a conference, there's this congruency and we trust this person already. And this brings us to our topic. Like, video is the tool for it. Sorry, you go.
Just before we get there, can I pull you up on a point there?
Go for
you
it.
said you met me and I've got a very outgoing personality. I'm actually a raging introvert.
Same.
I am, but this is and this is key to what we're talking about. Is I've made a decision. My purpose is to turn up and try to effect change. So when I turn up in these situations, I want my enthusiasm for what I do to be infectious. So I literally go into this presentation mode, and I don't have to think about it. I do it because I believe it. But when we switch off, I'll go back to I like to go back into my cave, go back into my head, and think. I'm not a gregarious person. And I think it's important for people to understand that, because if they are listening to me now or listening to you now, because when we started, I come out of the gate, like I'm into this, and your energy level raises to match me. Now we're having a spirited conversation, but that's not me. And don't be put off by that. It's, again, it comes down to flavor of ice cream out there. Not everyone likes me. There are people who are going to be listening and they've switched off. They go, I can't stand that bloke. He's so full on. I'll go. But you may have a more measured tone which relates to other people. That's great. That's your audience. So I just wanted to put some clarity around that.
Yes, and thank you for that, because I'm exactly the same. I'm an introvert. If I would stare against the wall for the next 6 months, I would be happy. Like, I'm good to go. But it's exactly that. You can't create change if nobody listens to you, if nobody sees you, if nobody knows you. So that belief that you are here for something bigger, that you want to go beyond your limitations that you think there are, and then having measurements around it, like having downtime, having, whatever charges your batteries again, and making time for that. That's important. It shouldn't be an excuse because you're an introvert or because you are shy or whatever to hide and say, oh, it's for the others. It's not. It's, you are here for a reason, so embrace it.
And there's a great saying that you can remember to help you with this. It's fix nervous with service. So if you feel nervous about turning up on video and doing this, the reason you're feeling that is because you're in your head thinking this is all about you. You're worrying about, how do I look? How do I sound? Am I coming across coherently? Are people going to laugh? And you're thinking about you. And when you're thinking about you, you can't be serving other people. And when you realize this and you get this out of the way, and I've been through this journey myself, I have lived everything I'm saying here. When you get yourself out of the way and then just turn up in a mindset of pure service to people. Like, I'm here, how can I help you? If I do it imperfectly, so what? When you get to that stage, and it's not hard to get to that stage, it actually takes the average person about 10 videos, in my experience, for them to go, you know what? No one really cares about me. And they go into that switch of service mindset, and their whole video presentation style changes completely. And then, and this is great, they don't need me. It's great. It's my absolute, that's the outcome that I really want, that you can just get your wings, off you go. And you're like, I remember that bloke. Yeah, he was good. He got me going, but I don't need him anymore.
Well, it's all a repetition and a muscle building exercise. Like, nobody is incredible when we start walking or when we speak a new language. Like, it takes practice and so forth. And same with video. And I want to also come back to the point that you made before. You only need to be 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of somebody else. And I only did a couple of episodes ago in the topic about authority mindset. And I said, well, expertise is subjective. Like, if I've never heard of this topic, somebody who's read one book is an expert for me already. Like, I want to learn from this person because it's not as far ahead. I don't want to learn from somebody who's been in the game for 30 years and I can't even catch up on it. So it shouldn't be the reason why we can't show up on video and so forth. That brings me to the video.
Okay.
On Saturday, I thought, you know what? I'm meeting with Julian and I want to get on to more videos. And then this blank, what am I even talking about? And you know what? This is a common problem. How do we get started when we say, you know what? I really need to build my profile, my presence, and I want to leverage video. Where do we get started?
Well, the easiest thing to do is, and this is counterintuitive. The easiest thing to do to get started with video is to do live video. And when I say, like, go onto Facebook and where you hit the button and you literally, like, you're broadcasting live to the world. Now, people out there are going, what?
Yes.
That's crazy. No, it's not. Now, I'll explain why it's not crazy. Number one, when you go live, what you can do on something like Facebook is create a Facebook business page, which means it's not your normal profile that goes to all your friends. It's a business page. And the truth is, Facebook suppresses it so much with the algorithm that basically nobody ever sees it. Just a handful of people ever see it. So then that's a perfect platform for you to be able to go in, and you can do this with your phone or your desktop. You don't need anything but a webcam or your phone. And you literally go and you hit live. It means that you can make videos that have purpose, because the last thing you want to do to get good on video is make a practice video. Because when you make a practice video, you stop yourself. Why do you stop yourself? Because we've been conditioned over years to watching TV shows and YouTube videos and interviews where people go, oh, that's all right. You can cut that out in the edit, can't you? And we get this idea that, oh, well, we can just stop and somehow start again. But when you go live, you're on. But because so that gives you purpose, and that and gives you that energy to keep going. And then all you've got to do is have an intro. And that could be, hey, it's Dave here, and I just wanted to turn up, and I just wanted to get some practice, using this new technology. So I'm going to tell you 3 things today. I'm going to tell you a win I had this week, a loss I had this week, and a lesson I got this week. And so, because now you don't have to remember those. You say a win. Oh, well, yeah, earlier this, our business did this and that was great. We've been working on this program for 6 months. Hey, you got there. We, had a loss. We had a great team member, who left, but she had to go and do something else. So that was not so much. And look, the lesson I learned out of all that is to, really value your staff. And you go. So look, next week, and then you have an outro. And then you say, hey, look, next week I'm going to turn up here and do exactly, the same thing. Can't wait to, maybe start a conversation with you. Hooray, bye. That's it. That's it. And
excellent tip.
If you do this, so you need an intro and an outro, and then a win, a loss, and a lesson. So the middle 3 you don't have to remember. the intro and the outro, I mean, honestly, don't make them complex. Just make it really simple. You know your name, right? Okay. So you don't have to remember that. And just state the reason that you're here. Now, why it's good to actually be and say, I'm trying to learn this new technology and get better at being on video, is because vulnerability is key to you being successful with authentic video. Vulnerability works so well. Why does it work so well? Because we walk around in life with our suits of protective armor on, all pretending that we're doing so well, all pretending we've got something under control. And if you go, hey, you know what? I'm not actually that perfect. People love it. You know why? Because they're too afraid to do it. And when you turn up and just show a little bit of imperfection, now, this, when we're talking to leaders out there, I mean, leaders, you're competent people. You've got to where you are because, you've worked hard and you're competent at doing it. There's a psychological thing called the pratfall effect. And a pratfall is if you watch old comedy movies where they walk along and slip on a banana peel, bang, or, like walk into a beam, it slaps them on the head or something. That's actually called a pratfall. It's a comedic effect. When you're someone with competence and you show up and in a slightly imperfect way and something goes wrong and you deal with that with humility, it actually makes you go up in people's estimations. So like it's actually better for you to try to be a little bit less than perfect. Now, how good is that? Because it now means the pressure on you to be perfect is gone. And that's one of the big things that stops us all going on video because, and why is that? Is because we came up in a binary education system that said there's either a right answer or a wrong answer. And if you get the wrong answer, we're going to put you back into the system and reprocess you. And we take this through life with this. It doesn't work on video now. We want you to be slightly imperfect.
Absolutely. And in the end, this is also the idea of being the trusted authority, that people want to buy into you because they can relate to you, they see who you are as a person, and not because you've got a title, because that's old-fashioned way of thinking. We've got flatter hierarchies these days. We've got more really smart people getting out of corporate and they consult back to corporate, so you can't rely on having the title to influence. But if people buy into your message, if they like you, if they trust you, well, you've won half of the battle already. And this is exactly what you can do with a video and fast track that. And I love your concept and your idea with don't overcomplicate it. Like what's the one lesson learned from this week based on the wins and the losses?
Yeah.
Great.
And then another quick, easy way for you to get into video is if you haven't got a LinkedIn profile, go get a LinkedIn profile. Now, I know most of you have out there. You can have a cover story. A cover story is a little video that, there's a little picture of you up there. You can just record a cover story, which is a 30-second video where you get to introduce yourself. It is really just use your smartphone, turn it vertical, so like normal sort of selfie video. Think about what you want to say. So this is who I am. This is who I help. This is why I'm a safe pair of hands. And this is what the next step I want you to take is. Something very simple like that, just a line or two of each. Don't overcomplicate it. Hit record. First thing you do is smile, right? Because we are born with this rapport building tool, this smile. But when we get into making videos, we get all worried about the tech. Oh, have I got this right? We worry about, am I going to remember what to say? And we forget to smile. And it's where, imagine if you were meeting somebody new, you invited somebody in for a meeting and they walked in, with a big dour face or you didn't have a smile. I mean, we use smiles as humans to engage and welcome people in. So hit record, actually go back again, smile and keep the smile, hit record your message. It might take you a couple of times. Again, don't worry about it being perfect. And then hit stop at the end, check that it fits within the 30 seconds, and then hit upload. Done. You are in the video game. And this is not chiseled in stone. Like, it's not something that's there for, for 1,000 years. If you want to change it next week, get your smartphone out. It's going to take you a minute or two, change it, make another one.
Absolutely. And everything is so short-lived anyway. Like nobody is as invested in us as we think. And if the video wasn't perfect, who cares? Like everyone is so busy thinking, what am I buying today for groceries? Do I have to pick up kids? Nobody puts as much emphasis on us that we think we are.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I mean, you've got to understand that's an important point, Petra, is that, people are so busy not thinking about you. I mean, they're really, yeah, and it's actually conceit. If you think that you're so important and if you make a mistake that people are going to go home and talk about you, oh my goodness, you would have seen this video I saw today. No, they don't. It's what you were saying. Their life takes over. You're not as important. And that's another key understanding and acceptance that you have to go through. It's going to amplify your authority so much if you can. Yeah, but this is the thing, Petra. Most people think like, maybe they came on this podcast thinking, oh, you're going to talk about cameras and lenses and f-stops and filters and lights and microphones. Yeah, you can do that, but they're not the things that are going to stop you making videos. I know this because I've gone through literally hundreds of clients like this. It's not the things that stop them. It's the stories they've told them in their head. The tech is simple. You've got a smartphone. Now, I'll tell you how I know this to actually be true. So I speak on stage, and let's just say I've got 500 people in the audience, 500 business leaders. And I go, right, so let's all of a sudden behind me on the screen, a big red 60-second clock comes up and it just starts ticking down, tick, tick, tick. And I go, you've got 60 seconds to make a video. And I look and I go, you've got 55 seconds to make a video. And I just stare at the audience, say nothing. You got 50 seconds to make a video. Then one by one, they just start to get their phones out and they fumble round and they're just holding their phones up and they're all taking something, the person next to them, whatever. And the clock goes down, it goes, the alarm goes off. Right, I go, now, stand if you haven't made a video. And no one in the audience ever stands. And I go, right. So why, when you are trying to implement video into your business, do you bring in all this technology, all these other people to have all these training sessions? You're overcomplicating this. You and everyone already know how to make a video and you've already got the tools to do it. You've all got a smartphone. I know you do. So you already have an advantage. And if you can get your teams, your workforce to be video literate, where they can use their getting your people to record video, so they're out there at the coalface. Whether it's with, big yellow trucks driving around or, whatever you do, it could be in a factory, it could be whatever you do, your people are there and they can be gathering valuable content for you. That content can be given to your marketing and your comms teams, and they will get down on their hands and knees and thank you if you give them decent stuff. It is so easy to get your teams to use their smartphones to generate decent content. 3 things you've got to remember. Only these 3 things. Show where we are, show what's happening, show who's reacting. So anytime you are, show where we are. You've seen a movie. How does a movie start? If it's a Western, it's a big wide thing of the plains. If it's a, gritty inner city, it'll be, like sort of New York City buildings. Show where we are. So wherever you are, show where you are, then show what's happening. It's the main action. Oh yeah, all these people are getting together and having a sausage sizzle to celebrate our 10th anniversary. Right, show that, then show who's reacting. How are people reacting? Oh, they're laughing, they're having a chat to each other, they're waving, welcoming the new people in. Those 3 things, if you have that in your head, every time you pick up your phone, show where we are, show who's happening, show who's reacting. Your comms and marketing teams are going to thank you if you implement that within your business.
Absolutely. And, I love this idea, simply gathering content, like the staff I know some business leaders are worried that their staff might put something wrong, quote unquote, out there, or it's not everyone has the authority to actually post on their social medias and so forth. But it could simply be to give it to the marketing team, for them to show some behind the scenes. And what you've just explained is kind of the hero story. It's context. What are we doing? Where we are? Before you launch into the next phase. It's characteristics, like who are the characters, and the content, what do we actually want to get out there, and then in conclusion, what happened. And there's nothing about worrying about giving away trade secrets or confidential information. Like, it's not about that. People are not that interested. They want to know who are the people behind the business. And leveraging personal brands is becoming bigger and bigger, because business brands, same with media, they're not trusted necessarily anymore. It's the people who make the business happen. And video is a perfect opportunity for that.
Yeah. So yeah, very much so. And so if you use that, and if you've got your smartphone, if you remember level, locate, and lock. So what I just told you before is about when you're turning the camera away from you and videoing what's going on. But think about it like you're making a news story. Then let's flip the camera, your smartphone camera, around back onto you, and you're going to be the reporter telling what's happened. So all you've got to do is remember level, locate, and lock. So bring your camera up to eye level. Now, why do we do that? If everything you do on a camera, take it offline, take it into the real world and ask, would I do it there? So if you and I were talking, like we met in a cafe and you were sitting and I walked up and leaned over the top of you and started looking down and talking to you, it'd be really weird and uncomfortable. But that's what happens you go into Zoom. People have got their cameras low down on their desk, looking up their noses. It's a power imbalance that's going on. It goes on at a very subconscious level, but that's what's going on. So the first thing to do is just level your camera, get it to eye level, because that's how we communicate as humans. Then the next thing you're going to do is locate the lens, because most people, particularly if you're in selfie mode, what they'll do is they'll look at their face, like look at themselves, but it's not actually where the lens is. So it would be like me talking to you this whole time and talking off here. It's not, when we communicate, we have eye contact. That's how we communicate. So you locate the lens and then you lock onto the lens. So level, locate, and lock. And the only place you look is at the lens. Now, I'm looking at you now, and actually on my phone, I just have a little piece of fluoro tape that's just cut into the shape of a little arrow, and it points at the lens. And it's I run my business off smartphones. Like I've used the best cameras and lenses in the world, and the only cameras I own now are smartphones. They're so good nowadays, but each one just has this little marker on it, so I always know exactly where I have to look. So if you do level, locate, and lock, and then turn the camera around to show where we are, show what's happening, show who's reacting. You don't need to know how to make videos. You don't need to know how to edit. It's not worth your time. But if you give that to your teams and let them put it all together, honestly, they're going to go, oh, this is just so good, because most people give rubbish in, and it's just awful. It's just this awful big mix of video that's terrible. Just do that. Not only will you be an effective leader, becoming a trusted authority, your people will love you. How good's that?
Absolutely. And there's the word author in authority. So creating content is a big part, and it could be written, it could be through public speaking, and or through video. And when we talk about public speaking being one of the most feared activities there is, put a camera on top of that, it's kind of another level. Everybody's freezing in a second there's a camera on, because it's out there forever.
Yeah, I always refer to video, being on video, presenting on video, as being the hamburger with the lot. Like public speaking is like the hamburger. You got all these fears and worries, but video has that. It's got the extra things, and those extra things are you have to watch yourself back again and relive all the terror and the experience. And so it's actually, being on video is actually, I find, for a lot of people, way harder than standing up and speaking in front of a room. but very similar, the feelings that you get, and they are physical feelings, and these physical feelings, you had them in your body to protect you. You know, so thousands of years back ago on the savannah, you know, these things that your amygdala, your little lizard brain in your head is there to, if you hear a rustle in the bushes, you know, you go into fight or flight. You know, is it going to be a saber-toothed tiger? Well, we don't have those threats now, but we feel the threats to our status, because you've spent your life climbing the slippery corporate pole to get to the top, and you're not going to let anything damage that position that you're in. And you feel showing up on video imperfectly may damage that. So fight or flight kicks in. It's your amygdala. You can't beat this. It's so smart in your brain, and it makes your heart. So what happens is it sends, your amygdala sends a message to your hypothalamus. Your hypothalamus send a message to your adrenal glands sitting on top of your kidneys to squirt adrenaline into your system. So, you know, you're ready to run. But what that does, it pumps up your blood pressure. It also increases your breathing. So you get that shortness of breath. You feel the beating heart. The adrenaline makes your leg shake because your muscles are getting ready to run. The adrenaline also makes your pupils dilate so you can see things in the shadow. And if you've ever spoken on stage and you've written your script in 12-point font and you realize all of a sudden you can't read it anymore because your eyes are dilated, you get acute hearing, again, to hear the rustles in the bushes, and everything in the auditorium starts to sound louder. And now your body is and you also, your body then shuts down what it doesn't need. And you don't need digestion, so it stops the blood flow to your digestion. That's butterflies in the tummy. That's actually what you're feeling. Now your body is working all this overtime, so it needs to cool down, and like a dog has a wet nose, our palms sweat, and that's why we get sweaty palms. So your body is designed to do this. So if you get in front of a video camera, you are going to feel this. But if you know that it's natural and you just hold. And if you hold for 10 seconds with this, you'll start to feel these feelings go down. And you go, right, okay, I've gone through this. I'm not going to run. I've gone through this. Now, do this 10 times and it's exposure therapy. And you go, right, okay, I know these feelings now and they're not going to affect me. They're actually here to help me.
Absolutely. I love those tips, especially if we've got a logical explanation as to why things happen. They're not unique to one person. It happens to all of us. So if we do those 10 attempts and we just record 10 random videos that we never publish, and then the 11th one, this is what we put out there, we're getting more comfortable with the uncomfortableness and it becomes the nature.
I hope you actually do feel those feelings, because if you don't, there's a fair chance you might be a psychopath, right? so it's actually just like, it's good for you to feel those feelings.
And, you know, a funny thing is I kind of post Instagram for a little while, and I did videos every single day, like on stories. It was so second nature, and then I didn't do it for a couple of months, and then I'm like, but can I still do it? Like, I didn't even know what to say. It was so out of my depth all of a sudden, even though I've done it for like the last 6 years. So it all comes down to practicing and making it the second nature again. So not think about it, to, you know, get comfortable with it again.
Yeah. And somebody who did that and did it really well was Barack Obama. He used to have a weekly a session called, I think it was West Wing Wednesday or West Wing Weekly, but he would allow a smartphone crew in. It's just basically two people with a smartphone, and they could follow him around for an hour, see what the family was doing, see how he related with his staff. So popular. It did so, I mean, you know, the guy was a smart guy anyway, but, you know, it really helped build his brand as an accessible and an authentic leader.
Absolutely. And, you know, the elections are always the trendsetters for marketing campaigns and for thought leadership building, because what they are doing, I mean, they test a lot. There's a lot of money in there. And when, you know, social media became a thing, and social media was actually a campaign, like, we know who won. He did it really well, like him or hate him, but he knows how to leverage the medium of choice of people to reach them. and
Yeah.
through videos and showing up also imperfectly. This is exactly how you build this trust. Now,
And
this
so,
has been
just
fantastic.
one thing, and can I just say, you said people's medium of choice, and so if you're a leader out there, I think it's important to understand this. We live in the age of convenience. Like, we just love things that are convenient. Now, we love our smartphones and our devices because they are convenient. Have you tried to use text on a smartphone? Like, it's really fiddly. And because of that physical limitation, we prefer video as a way to get our information and messages on smart devices. So it's important to understand that is that if you're not showing up on video, you're just saying to your clients, your customer base out there, the people you're trying to lead, oh, I don't care about what you feel is convenient. Here's another 3-page memo. It's just not working like it used to.
Exactly. And for anyone who thinks their sales cycles have increased, the way to decrease it is to educate your customers or potential customers prior to it. And the best way is to do a video. Then you've got a few touch points already. So in a second, you have the sales conversation. You actually don't need to do the hard conversation because people have already made their choice and their decision about whether they engage with your product or not. And if we've got two options and one actually educated me and showed me their face and introduced me with their personality, well, who am I trusting? Of course, the one who is actually giving me something compared to the other one who I've never heard, or there's no trust there.
And what about improving your productivity? I mean, I've heard this. I heard a lot of people's leaders say that, improving productivity is good. Imagine all the meetings that you have, and you know how meetings just so ineffective the way that they're run. Imagine you took control of the meetings and you made a video, and you just got your smartphone, and it was a 90-second video, and you go, okay, we got the meeting at 1 p.m. today. This is what we're going to talk about in this video, in this meeting. So if you've got something to add to that, that'd be great. And here's the thing: if you've got nothing to say, don't come to the meeting. Right? Send that to all the participants in the meeting that they can consume that before they even get there. So you can cut a 30-minute meeting down to 12 minutes because you've got all that out of the way. As a productivity tool, it's just brilliant.
Love this tip. And so many effective ways to use videos. It's not just to build your own profile and brand, which is obviously a big side effect, but you can increase this to build your employer brand, to build your company brand, to increase productivity, to get customers buy-in quicker. Like, we cannot say no to a video.
Yeah, I mean, imagine this is one of my absolute favorites for customer-facing teams. If you want to de-escalate an angry customer, right, as soon as that comes through that they're really upset, one of your team members jumps on, makes a simple video and goes, we hear you. We acknowledge that you're really upset. We're going to prioritize this and try to find a solution for you. And you send that to that person. They are going, they've listened to me. It's an amazing tool for doing simple things like that.
Brilliant. Now, I've got your book, but where is another way how we can connect with you, learn more about you, get you into organizations? What's the best way to connect with you?
The easiest way is www.julianmather.com, JulianMather.com. And if you go there, there's a 90-second video on the homepage. Have a look at that because it's an effective use of video. And then it will take you through, if you want, you can do the on-demand 30-minute Video Authority Masterclass, and it will take you through the process of how you can be using video and how it's probably completely different to how you had imagined. Anyway, that's there if you'd like it.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll definitely put the links in the show notes and also recommend this book. It's so effective. It's thin but practical. So there's, again, no excuse that we don't have the time or we don't have the equipment because we don't need it. You've given us all the tips and tricks. So thank you again for being here. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of you on LinkedIn and all the other platforms.
I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you so much.